Welcome back to our fourth and final installation of Chapter 4. This particular section in video is going to focus on table aggregation, and we're also going to look at some conditional formatting of the data within our Excel table. So what is conditional formatting? Conditional formatting is the application of special emphasis or highlights to cells that meets specific criteria. So for example, if you want to emphasize a positive or a negative number in a particular field, you could use some conditional formatting. Additionally, we're going to look at adding a total row to our Excel table, and that's going to display at the bottom of your Excel table below the last row of records. And by implementing a total row, you can display a variety of summary statistics. You can compute the average, account, sum, minimum, maximum, all kinds of different summary statistics in your table. Beneath, on the next bullet here, I have an example of the format for a subtotal. This is actually a function call within the Excel table. And you specify two arguments in this particular subtotal computation here, and it references over to the right. I have a table that we're going to use to reference what type of function, summary function, we're going to be using. So you have your subtotal function call. You have the function number, which is going to be referenced here. And that's the aggregate function identifier, and then ref1 is going to be your table field that you're going to do the aggregation on. So let's look at conditional formatting. There are 5 different types of conditional formatting that you can apply. One is a highlight cells rule that basically highlights cells that meet a certain condition criteria. So if you have a sales field and you want to highlight those sales fields that are over $5,000. You can implement a top and bottom rules, which just identifies the top or bottom number, percentage, or values above and below a specific range. So if you're looking at top 10% of sales, you can set a conditional formatting rule for that. You can create data bars that basically applies a gradient or a solid fill bar, which the width of that bar represents the current cell value compared to the other cell values. You can use color scales, which basically formats the cells with different colors based on relative value compared to the other cells. And you can also use icon sets with your symbols or signs that classify data into anywhere from 3 to 5 categories based on values in a range. And we'll look at some of these conditional formattings here in the video. We'll cover a few more in class on Monday. So you can also create a new rule for applying conditional formatting. Excel gives the feature. It includes the feature to enable you to create your own rules to specify different color fills, different borders, and other formats beyond just the default settings that Excel has. And one of the other really kind of cool thing is that you can actually implement formulas in the conditional formatting. And these can be used to kind of create that unique look and feel to your table. One thing I do want to point out, though, when we're dealing with conditional formatting, is if you do have specific rules that you've created for a specific conditional format, you need to periodically review and update those as your format and your table needs to be reflected. So let's go over to our spreadsheet. And one thing I want to show that I believe I skipped over in the last video is using a formula to do a computation in your table. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in a formula that's going to look at the difference in price between the list price and what they sold the house for. You'll notice here, as I mentioned in one of the previous videos, you got to make sure that your field names are unique. One of the things that I didn't point out and I want to emphasize here is that when you modify your field names up at the top, your column headers for your Excel table, make sure that if there are any spaces in there that you remove them and put the underscore character in there. So for this particular computation, we're going to set up the list price minus the actual selling price, and you'll notice that it does that autocomplete feature in here as well, and it will actually highlight the fields accordingly. Once you get your formula in there, instead of using the actual cell reference that we would in the worksheet, we're actually using the reference of the field name. Click enter, and it goes ahead and it actually does the computation. Again, you can do your formatting here. We'll apply our accounting format, and again, it gives you the price difference there. So just want to kind of show what we're doing with regard to that. But let's look at including a total row. So in order to add a total row in there, let's go ahead and click on this particular option here. This is going to create a total row. The bottom, if we go all the way down, you'll notice the word total is put in the first column underneath here, and you'll notice it's already computed the total price difference in what the house was listed for in terms of what it sold. So let's do an aggregation of the selling price. So again, we're going to do equals subtotal, and if you remember from the Excel, I'm sorry, the PowerPoint presentation, I had a table in there. It's also in your book, but if you notice as well, it gives you that pop-up autocomplete of, we're going to do a sum here, puts in the correct reference number, and we're going to be looking at selling price. So again, click selling price. Make sure you have your brackets, and it does the aggregation of selling price. Again, go back to your actual. We want to go to home, and we want to apply that accounting look to it. Expand our column out, so you could do your aggregations there. And again, that total can be used to compute summary information of any of your fields that you have in it. So that's applying a total row to your table. The next piece is the conditional formatting, and so what you can do to apply a conditional formatting is, let's just say we want to highlight the houses that were sold by agent named Hernandez. And so what we can do here is we can go ahead and open up our quick analysis tool, and we're going to do some formatting. We're going to do some conditional formatting where let's say, for example, okay, if you want to do a data bars, and this was what we had talked about with the selling price in relation to some of the other ones, it'll give you a fill of almost like a bar chart type representation in there. You can specify colors in terms of houses that sold for less than what they were. I'm sorry, for more than what they were listed for. Again, this computation is a selling price. I'm sorry, listing price minus the selling price. So for those that actually turn a bit of a profit on there, you can identify those. So those are kind of some of the conditional format options that you can apply in there. Again, it's based off of how you want to specify your information. Again, you can go back to the quick analysis tool. You can clear your formatting styles. So let's just say we want to, in terms of quick analysis, we want to go ahead and we want to see what the top 10% of what was the top 10% of listed selling prices for the houses. So it actually gives you of all of the the listings we have here, the top 10% of those houses that fell into the listing and or selling price. So again, based off of how you want to accent and emphasize the data in your Excel table, again, you can apply those formats. I don't want to get too far into the weeds in terms of some of the other conditional formatting because I want to cover some of that information in class on Monday. But I just want to give you a brief overview of how you can go in and how you can create some specific formatting conditions on your Excel table. And again, you can go back in and clear that information. So what we'll do on Monday is we'll look more in depth at some of the conditional formatting of these tables because I want to give more in-depth examples than what I can give in a short video here. So this is the last module 404 for chapter 4. This will go ahead and prepare you for the hands-on exercises for chapter 4. That will take you all the way up to page 316 in your textbook. And if you have any questions, again, please feel free to email me at ryan.free@ppcc.edu.